Trolls. Good afternoon, my fellow dungeon masters. Before we dive into today's episode, let me ask you a couple of questions. How many of you have run a troll encounter before? You don't have to answer that. Probably more than half of you, right? Okay, now let me ask you a follow-up question. How many of you saw that troll's regeneration ability and said, "Oh, this is gonna be a fun fight," only to realize that the dwarf with the lit cigar can poke the troll for 1 point of fire damage and shut down its entire immune system? I bet most of you can't even count on one hand the number of times your troll actually got to regenerate during combat, let alone felt like anything more than a sack of hit points with 3 attacks. But don't worry, young pupils. DM Dungeon Mastery is here to save the day because the troll I crafted last night, I think you're all going to go nuts for, so I'm excited to share it with you today. Now, let me preference this for the naysayers out there. This is just a template, just like the 2014 troll. Okay? This is not meant for you to take as the gospel, if you will, the DM gospel. If you see this and you're like, this is just too much, it's poorly made, it looks stupid, take it and change it to how you want it. I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else at making creatures, I'm just simply making things that I think are fun. With that being said, I want to get into the 2014 troll first, take a look at it, go over it, and then we're going to get into my troll. Alright, so let's get into it. Okay, so the 2014 Monster Manual troll. It's not a horrible creature. I'm going to say that off the bat. It's not a bad creature. If you use proper tactics and you have the troll, you know, in a swampy environment where there's water and it can go under the water and hide from fireballs and stuff, it's not a bad creature. It could be challenging if you use these really smart combat tactics, but the thing is that, first of all, the troll can't breathe underwater, so it doesn't have a swim speed either, so it's not really an aquatic creature. Trolls aren't really known for setting traps because they're not that intelligent enough. They are almost like animalistic giants in a way. They have a very savage mindset. It's very animal-like. Let's get into the stats first. So we have an armor class of 15. It's pretty decent. It's like the middle ground. We have 84 hit points. We have a speed of 30 feet, even though it's a large giant. So that's a little low for a large giant, in my opinion. It should be at least 40. The stats look good. I don't think the ability scores need to be increased. They have a perception skill. Being a big giant, you would think they would have a constitution saving throw proficiency or a strength proficiency. They have dark vision. They speak giant, and they are a CR5 creature. Proficiency bonus of 3. Now, we'll get into the abilities here. The troll has keen smell, which has advantage on perception checks that rely on smell, which kind of shows its like animalistic tendencies with that, I guess. And then we have regeneration. This is what makes the troll a troll. This is what separates it from like an ogre or an Etten. So the troll regains 10 HP at the start of its turn. If the troll takes acid or fire damage, this trait doesn't function at the start of the troll's next turn. And then the troll does not die unless it has 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. So the problem is, there's no damage threshold. There's no like minimum amount of fire damage or acid damage that it should take. That's what I was trying to get at with the intro, with the dwarf taking a cigarette and burning the troll's neck. It stops its entire immune system. Its entire metabolism shuts down from 1/8 of a point of fire damage. So that kind of irks me a little bit. Now, I know some people will probably be mad with what I'm going to do with the regeneration, but I don't think it's that bad. I think it just is going to make the troll into a puzzle monster, like I think it should be. And then late game, whenever you have plenty of fire damage and you can slaughter through trolls wonton, they just become a strong mob monster, and it's still the same. So let's get into the actions really quickly. Now the troll makes 3 attacks, which makes it pretty deadly. It can definitely let's see, it could do 5d6 damage total plus 12 if it hits all of its attacks on one target. So that's a lot of damage, but here's my problem. I don't like bite attacks on humanoid-esque creatures that don't require the creature to be grappling something to bite it, because if you envision it, it doesn't make sense that the troll's like, what is he, like lunging his head downwards and biting at something, throwing himself off guard, making himself incredibly vulnerable to like being beheaded. It just doesn't, like, I'm trying to envision it. Like, trolls do have a hunch, and they do kind of like walk with their hands dragging along the ground like a Neanderthal in a way, but I just don't like bite attacks on humanoids that don't require something to be grappled first, like I did with the ogre. To me, I don't like that. Animals, it's fine, because then it makes sense. You know, they have 4 legs, their head's in front. That's going to be their main tool to attack stuff. But with a humanoid, when you're large, so trolls are, I don't know, probably 10, 12 feet tall creatures with a hunch. So we're gonna see what I did with my stat block, and I think you guys are gonna go nuts for it. I was uninspired at first, and then I got into it, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be really freaking cool, man. So let's get into it before my head explodes. Alright, here we are with DM Dungeon Mastery's Troll. Okay, so let's break it down. DM Dungeon Mastery style. We're gonna go from top to bottom here. The only thing that changed up in the top portion was I gave it 10 more movement speed, so they now have 40 feet of movement. And I gave them a climbing speed of 30 feet. So it said that trolls can climb up almost a 90-degree incline as long as there's something for them to grab onto, and they live in like swampy environments, so you would think that they would climb around in trees and stuff to jump down on prey that they're hunting. So gave them, you know, some more versatility in terms of the movement category. Moving past ability scores, because I didn't touch those, we'll move into saving throws. It's got a +4 dex save and a +8 con save. Yes, I gave it constitution proficiency, or saving throw proficiency, because its entire thing is trolls have this incredibly rapid metabolism. It should probably have a con save proficiency. Nothing else changed other than the challenge rating is increased, so it is now a CR 6, so it went up by 1. Now, we're going to get into the abilities next, and we're going to break them down one at a time, because it's a lot of text, but it makes sense once you just look at it. It's easier to read when you go over it slowly at first. Okay, let's get into it. Keen smell hasn't changed, but I'm sure you all have heard of loathsome limbs. It's a variant troll ability in the monster manual for 2014. I don't know many people that use it, because I think people see it as cumbersome, but I'm gonna put up an image on screen of what the old loathsome limbs looks like on the original troll stat block versus what I did with it. So I heavily cut down on the wording, but unfortunately it still is gonna be a whole 1/2 of the creature's stat block to explain it, just because it's essentially a chart. This is something that I honestly would, if I could, I would take this and not put it on the stat block, just because it takes up so much space, but you have it like off to the side somewhere, so you can just look at it and see what happens whenever, you know, the troll loses a limb. But let's go down top to bottom. So when the troll takes 15 or more slashing damage at once, roll a d20. On a 1 to 10, nothing happens. On a 11 to 14, a leg is severed, if it has any. On a 15 to 18, an arm is severed, if it has any. On a 19 to 20, the troll is decapitated. It dies if it cannot regenerate. And then we have underneath that, I added this in, this is my thing. So a player can declare that they are attacking a specific limb of the troll before making an attack. If their attack roll exceeds the troll's armor class by 5 or more, the following effects occur. If they have slashing damage, it severs the limb. If they have bludgeoning, it destroys the head or breaks the arm/legs without severing them. Broken limbs become unusable until regenerated, so that would count for the head too, so the head can regenerate. It doesn't mean that it's gone. Piercing has no effect on limbs. And then we have next after that, this just tells you what a severed limb does. So it says severed parts act on the troll's initiative with an armor class of 13, HP of 10, and they have the troll's regeneration trait. So the parts also regenerate, so keep that in mind. That makes them a little bit funny. The troll should be this freakish, like giant, it's literally just a freak of nature. Like when you're fighting it, you should be cutting the parts off, and then it just doesn't stop coming at you, and then the body parts start coming at you. It should be chaotic. The troll's alignment is chaotic. Chaotic evil. So if it has chaos in its alignment, I want to incorporate that into how it fights. Like, it should feel chaotic. Alignment doesn't have to be boring, especially chaos. The chaos is always fun. Where was I? So yeah, we're looking at what the limbs do when they are severed. So a severed leg can essentially move 5 feet a turn. It can't attack, so it just hops around. The severed arm can crawl 5 feet a turn, and then it can make a claw attack. So we'd have to look at the claw attack on the multi-attack to see what that does. And then it says the troll also loses 1 claw attack per arm lost. And then it has its severed head. So if it can't move, but it can bite targets in its space. The troll loses its bite attack and is blinded unless the head sees it. So that makes sense. We'll keep moving, and it says missing limbs effect on the troll. So this is what happens to the troll when it's missing these parts. So if it's missing 1 leg, its speed is halved. If it's missing both legs, it falls prone. It can crawl if it has arms. If it only has 1 arm, it has half speed. And then if it has no limbs, it has no speed. It can't benefit from speed bonuses. And then it also says at the end of this, severed parts die if not reattached by the end of a short or long rest, and then new ones regrow in their place. Now that's it for the loathsome limbs. Okay, we're gonna move into the next ability here. This is called mutative adaptation, and this is my idea. I got this from the wiki, from the Trolls lore. So it states that trolls can mutate if they lose body parts. They can grow different mutations. So basically what I did was, when the troll loses a limb, it rolls a d6. On a 1 to 3, nothing happens. On a 4 to 6, the troll regenerates at the start. If the troll regenerates at the start of its next turn, so this all is based around the regeneration trait still, it regrows a limb of its choice for each limb lost before the regeneration triggers. So yes, I think you're seeing where I'm going with this. This is starting to become kind of Hydra-like in a way, but not quite, because its attacks are completely different, but they're more fun, I think. This is the troll is now turned into he runs up, he makes 3 attacks, and then you hit him with fire damage, and then you kill him, to you're chopping his body parts off. He's not going down. He keeps coming at us. We cut his legs off. He's crawling at us, trying to eat us. We cut his head off. His body's still attacking us. Moving into the next ability here. This is a special trait, not an ability. Sorry. So the next trait, the troll can use its bite attack to bite off one of its own limbs, an arm or leg. It can't bite its own head off. And it takes the bite damage in the process. No attack roll is required. So you can kind of see if the troll starts biting its arms off, right? It has to use part of its action to do that, obviously. So instead of it making a bite attack against another creature, it bites itself, okay? So it bites its arm off, and then mutative adaptation triggers. You would roll a d6. If you roll a 4 to 6, at the start of the troll's next turn, he can regrow that arm. And now he's got a crawling arm on the ground, along with an arm he just regrew, because it says regeneration process doesn't take that long for a troll. But we're not done yet. We have to move into a regeneration trait, because I know what you're still thinking. Well, if the troll takes a point of fire damage, his regeneration stops, so this is all just pointless. No, I changed regeneration. The troll, let's move to the regeneration. The troll regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn. If the troll takes acid or fire damage, it has to succeed on a constitution saving throw with a DC equal to 10 plus the damage taken, minimum of 10. On a failure, this trait doesn't function at the start of the troll's next turn, and then the troll doesn't die unless it starts its turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. So, now the troll has to make concentration checks on his regeneration. So now it's a lot harder to drop his regeneration trait, and with his saving throw proficiency to constitution, it's going to feel a lot better, in my opinion. It's going to be a lot harder to just drop the troll. Now, running multiple trolls might seem overwhelming, but if you know how one troll works, you know how they all work. So, keeping that in mind now, we have that mutative adaptation, so that the troll can regrow a limb, essentially, at will. So that's if the player cuts it off, if he bites it off himself. There might be a special mechanic that comes into play with that too. We'll have to get into that, but let's move into the actions now. And here we go. Let's get into the actions. So the troll makes a number of claw attacks equal to the number of claws it has. Uh-oh, that sounds scary. If it's grappling a creature, it can make a number of bite attacks equal to the number of heads it has. The troll can replace any number of claw attacks with a stone attack, thrown limb attack, or replace one claw attack with an overpowering slam. Already sounds more interesting, doesn't it? So let's get into claw attack. The only thing I added to the claw attack now is the troll can choose to grapple the target instead of dealing damage on a hit. So, if the troll has 4 arms now, if you look at the artwork for a dire troll, I think a dire troll happens whenever a troll starts grafting body parts to itself and melding them together, and then the troll eventually, over time, as it keeps doing this, it kind of goes mad, and it starts growing much larger, like a giant. So they grow to a huge size, and then they have 5 different arm attacks, then they go into this whirlwind of claw attacks. I made it now kind of lore accurate with the base troll, because now you can see how that happens over time. So let's get into these. So where was I? I was on claw attack. Yeah, so the troll can choose to grapple a target instead of dealing damage on a hit, and then the escape DC is 15. They have to use an action to break out. The bite attack. This was one that I wanted to make dangerous, because now you can't just use it unless the troll is grappling somebody. So you can only target a grappled creature that he is holding. I will probably add also, with the claw attack, I need to add a little bit of italics text saying that they can't grapple another creature with that claw, just to make it worded properly. But anyways, let's get back to the bite. So he targets one grappled creature. On a hit, he does 2d8 piercing damage now instead of measly d6, because he's biting you. It should deal a lot of damage. And now it takes a grappled creature to do it also. So the target must succeed on a DC 16 Constitution saving throw, or contract Troll Fever. Now this is a disease, so paladins will benefit from this because they're immune to diseases, but I like diseases in D&D, and I think they're very misused because they're pretty easily cured. So this version, this disease, troll fever, it's my own creation. I looked up, I was trying to see if trolls carried disease. I didn't see anything, so this might not be original if this actually existed in an older edition, but the target is poisoned once it contracts troll fever. They take 3d6 poison damage at the start of each turn, and then the target has to succeed on a con save at the start of each turn, or also gain a point of exhaustion. And yes, they stack. So every time it takes poison damage, also its maximum hit points are reduced by the damage taken, and then it dies if this reduces its hit points to 0. So troll fever is pretty dangerous. It is pretty nasty. There's not very many trolls in the world because trolls have a very low birth rate. They only give birth to one troll at a time, and I'm pretty sure like a pregnant troll takes a while to give birth to a troll, if I remember reading it. So let's get into how to cure troll fever. So the disease lasts until it is cured by greater restoration. So remember, outside of combat, every 6 seconds the target is taking poison damage, and then they have to make a con save, or they just slowly wither away. They could also make a DC 15 medicine check, so if you don't have a cleric in the party, and somebody has like a medicine proficiency, they have to be proficient with medicine though. So the medicine check requires a creature proficient in medicine to prepare and apply a herbal remedy called Ilara's Balm. Creating this ointment takes 1 hour and requires the rare plant Ilara's Sage. The balm must be applied directly to the bite wound. Lesser restoration can temporarily halt the disease's effects for 10 minutes, but does not cure it. And Ilara's Balm and Ilara's Sage are my creation. They're not an actual in-game thing, so if you want to change the name to something that's in your world, you can absolutely do that, but I just came up with that. So now, party member gets troll fever in the beginning of the campaign, it becomes a quest, a race against time. They have to cure troll fever before this person withers away and dies, basically. So that's pretty fun, I think. But of course, higher level, troll fever is gonna probably last for 1 to 2 turns before the cleric casts greater restoration. But people are gonna be contracting it a lot because they're gonna be getting bit, and the cleric only has so many greater restorations. So yeah, I think that's a fitting thing. You can remove that if you want to and just keep it the bite attack with 2d8 piercing damage, but why? Make it dangerous. It should be dangerous. It's a troll. It has to grapple you now, so let's do the next action here. Overpowering Slam. Here's the troll using its big giant form to overpower small creatures. Always gotta have at least something. So the troll wrestles and violently slams a large or smaller creature it's grappling into the ground. This just automatically happens if it's grappled. The target takes 2d6 bludgeoning damage and falls prone, and then they have to make a strength save or the creature is grappled and restrained. So they would just fall prone, and then if they fail this saving throw, they are grappled and restrained. But if they succeed, they just fall prone, basically. And then the troll would have advantage on attack rolls because they're grappled and restrained, so that would be kind of scary. Now here's where another fun ability comes in next. Thrown Limb. Of course he's gonna throw his body parts when they get chopped off, right? So it has a low range, it's 20 to 40 feet, and then the attack deals damage based on the thrown limb. So the legs deal the least amount of damage. They deal 2d4 bludgeoning damage. The arms do 2d6 slashing damage. So he's like throwing his arms like a javelin. And then the head is the dangerous one. So he can pick his head up and throw it now if it gets cut off. And then it bites the creature. Remember, this is all coming back to the attack roll, so he still has to succeed on the attack roll before any of this. So he bites the creature, and then the creature has to make a con save, where it contracts troll fever as per the bite attack. Yeah, so I've turned the troll into what it should be, which is a freak. It is a freak of nature. It says that in their lore. It says they're troll freaks. They're freaks of nature. They're just these savage, crazy, like kooky monstrosities that should be just like, they have rubbery flesh, their limbs fall off all the time, and then they regrow them. Trying to find the troll here in the monster manual to read a snippet from the lore here. So yeah, let me read the troll freaks, okay? So it says here, their regenerative capabilities make trolls especially susceptible to mutation. Although uncommon, such transformations can result from what the troll has done or what has been done to it. A decapitated troll might grow 2 heads from the stump of its neck, while a troll that eats fey creatures might gain 1 or more of that creature's traits. So, yeah, it's already kind of implied that trolls are supposed to be freaks of nature. That's what I'm getting at. So I really wanted it to represent that in its stat block, which it did not before, with just a measly regenerate that stops from 1 point of fire damage. And then it also said in their lore that they throw large rocks and stones, so I was tired of making every rock attack deal bludgeoning damage, so I just said a sharp stone, and it does 1d8 piercing damage, which it could throw multiple of these per arm that it has. So that's going to bring me into my next thing, the final thing that the troll can do. Okay, so my Elden Ring enjoyers out there, this is going to be reminiscent of Godfrey. So we have limb regrafting. The troll can use this as a bonus action. It is its only bonus action. So if the troll's regeneration trait is active this turn, it can instantly reattach a severed limb, restoring its use and healing for 10 hit points. So now the troll can heal itself, which is scary. Alternatively, it can hold the limb to its body at the end of its turn, and then if regeneration is active at the start of its next turn, the limb reattaches, and the troll regains 10 hit points. So, if you think of a combo here, we have self-mutilation. The troll can bite off its own limbs, okay? Let's say it bites its arm off, the arm falls to the ground. You roll on that mutative adaptation. The troll rolls a 6, he regenerates that arm at the start of his next turn. Okay, then he has that arm that's crawling around on the ground. Well, he can go pick that arm up, hold it up to his body, it reattaches itself to him with limb regrafting. He regains 10 hit points, gains an extra claw attack. Now, on top of that, the players are chopping body parts off too, so he is just this insane, chaotic monster now, which is what he should have been to begin with. I think this is so much more fun than the original troll. I hope you guys like this, because I spent like 4 hours last night coming up with stuff. I think this is this is incredibly unique. There is no other creature that does this in the game. The Hydra can regrow its heads, yes, and gain attacks based on the amount of heads it has, yes, but nothing can pick its body parts up and graft them back to itself with its own metabolism, okay? Like, this will be a fun, memorable fight for not only you, because it's going to be fun for you to run, but your players, because now the players, they have their own input. They can target the troll's body parts, and if they're skilled enough with the attack roll, they can chop the body part off. They can make their own tactical decisions to like slice the legs off so the troll can't move as fast. This is how you make an interactive monster, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked the video, show me some appreciation in the comments. Leave me some feedback if you liked it. If you liked it, like the video. If you did, what else here? Oh, I have a Discord channel. If you want to download this troll stat block, is going to be in my Discord channel, which will be in the description of the video. So check that out. Come hang out with me. I'm active in there daily. I try to interact with as many people as I can. You'll get notifications when I post a new poll on my YouTube channel to vote on the next creature rework video. You'll get the creature stat blocks to download. A couple other resources are in there too for newer dungeon masters that need to know where content is on the internet that is not paid for. So if you need to learn about magic item prices and other things of that nature, I have links to that in my Discord also. This is DM Dungeon Mastery. I will see you guys in the next one. I think we're getting Minotaurs in our next creature rework, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you guys later.